Hi, I'm Liam. I used to think love meant fixing what's broken, even when you didn't break it. Sienna and I had been together for 4 years. We weren't perfect, but I thought we were solid. We shared a home, a routine, a life, or at least, I thought we did. Lately, though, she'd grown distant, colder, less interested in dinner together, less responsive when I tried to hold her hand. She'd say she was tired, or that she needed space, or blamed it on stress from work. I gave her that space. I even asked if she wanted to talk about it. She'd just say, "It's fine, you're overthinking." I believed her, or at least I wanted to. I started putting in more effort, cooking her favorite meals, planning a weekend getaway, buying tickets to that art exhibit she mentioned in passing. But every time, it felt like I was trying to hold together something that had already slipped through my fingers. She always had an excuse. Work is insane. I just want to be alone tonight. Can we not do the whole clingy thing? So I stopped asking. I gave her distance. I focused on work. I started going to the gym again. But even then, there was that ache in my gut, the one you get when you know someone's slowly replacing you. One night, she came home late, almost midnight. Hair slightly messy, shirt buttoned wrong. I was sitting in the living room, pretending to scroll on my phone. "Long day?" I asked. She didn't look me in the eyes. "Yeah, client dinner, exhausted." Her makeup was smudged. She smelled like a cologne I didn't own. I stood calmly. "You want to tell me the truth?" She paused, then smiled like she pitied me. "Okay, fine. I cheated." No hesitation, no shame, no apology. I think I stared at her for a full minute. "And why?" I asked almost quietly. She tilted her head like it was obvious. "I was bored, Liam. That was it. Not, 'I'm sorry.' Not, 'It just happened.' Not even, 'It didn't mean anything.' Just boredom." I stood there, heart not racing, hands not shaking, just done. She looked at me, maybe expecting me to scream or cry or fall apart. Instead, I nodded. "Thank you," I said, "for being honest." Finally, then I walked out of the room. I didn't slam the door. I didn't pack a bag. I just went to the guest room, shut the door behind me, and laid down. That night, I stared at the ceiling for hours, not mourning the end of our relationship, but feeling an eerie kind of peace. Because now, I had nothing left to salvage. She thought honesty would crush me. She had no idea it would free me. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened. She made herself coffee, hummed while scrolling her phone, and left the mug in the sink like always. I sat at the kitchen counter, watching her, not speaking, not asking questions, just observing, because here's what she didn't know. That house? It wasn't ours. It was mine. Bought and paid for in full years before I met her. Inherited from my grandfather, yes, but renovated, upgraded, maintained by me. She never asked, and I never offered the information. We were a couple. I didn't think it mattered, but now it did. Sienna had spent years decorating, claiming corners of the house like they were trophies. Her plants, her abstract wall art, her herbal teas cluttered the pantry. She even turned the sunroom into a yoga nook, complete with overpriced mats, minimalist furniture, and those ridiculous Zen stones she never meditated with. It always amused me how confidently she took ownership of it all, like she belonged there more than I did, like her presence made it hers. But now every square inch of that house felt suffocating, with her in it. I watched her as she walked down the hall in one of my t-shirts. I remembered how she once told her friend on the phone, "It's our place, but really I made it livable." Right, because throw pillows and eucalyptus candles built this place. That was the moment I decided I was done playing house with someone who had no respect for what I built. Not the home, not the relationship, not the life. Later that week, while she was out with friends, probably the same ones who covered for her cheating, I made a quiet call to my realtor, Henry. He was discreet and didn't ask questions. I told him I was thinking of selling the house. He paused. "Are you sure, Liam?" "Yeah," I said. "It's time." By Thursday, he had appraised it. By Monday, we had 3 offers, Cash buyers. Apparently demand was high in the area. It moved fast. I made sure it did, all while pretending nothing had changed. Sienna thought my silence meant weakness, that I was avoiding confrontation because I was hurt. She didn't realize I had already started building the exit she never saw coming. She kept living in the house like she owned it, inviting friends over, lighting candles, watching TV with her feet on the couch I paid for. The more she relaxed, the more at peace I became, because soon it wouldn't be my problem. She once told me during an argument, "You're too calm, it's annoying." She was right, because that calm, it wasn't apathy, it was calculation. She thought she was getting away with something. But what she didn't know was that she was lounging in a house that was already sold, by the man she thought would stay heartbroken forever. And I didn't raise my voice. I didn't scream or cry, I just waited, because revenge doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it knocks politely on your front door. From the outside, everything looked the same. We still shared meals when she bothered to be home. We still exchanged words, short, hollow ones. And we still slept under the same roof, though not in the same bed anymore. But behind that stillness, I was in motion. Henry, the realtor, was a godsend. Low profile, efficient, and tight-lipped. Within 2 weeks, we'd finalized the deal. The buyers were a newlywed couple looking to settle down, and they'd fallen in love with the property the second they stepped in. Of course, they had no idea someone was still living there, temporarily. When I told Henry I needed 3 weeks to clear things out, he simply nodded. No questions. He was old school. Trusted that I had it handled. I did, and those 3 weeks. I watched Sienna more carefully than ever. Every morning, she walked barefoot into the kitchen, kissed her coffee mug, and talked to someone on the phone while smiling like a teenager in love. Every night, she stayed glued to that same phone, texting so furiously that she'd forget to say goodnight, or care if I said it. She thought I didn't notice, or maybe she didn't care, but I noticed everything. She'd complain about her boring job and scroll for hours, talking about trips she wanted to take, with someone spontaneous this time. She even joked with her friend, "Liam's harmless. He'll never do anything drastic. It's not in him." She didn't know I had already booked a moving truck. She didn't know I had transferred all the utility accounts. She didn't know I had slowly started removing my things, my passport, documents, the last photo of us from a happier time, now in a sealed box at my office downtown. And each time I brought something out of that house, I left behind a little more silence. Didn't tell a soul. Not my coworkers, not my sister, not even my best friend Mark. I didn't need backup. What I needed was timing. One day I walked past the guest room and saw her folding laundry. She glanced up and smirked. "You still mad about that night?" Looked at her calmly. "No, not at all." She shrugged. "Told you it was just boredom. We were getting stale." I nodded slowly. "Well, sometimes stale things get thrown out." She laughed. Thought it was a joke. I meant every word. The next morning, she asked if I could be out Saturday morning because her friend was coming over for brunch. I smiled and said, "Sure, I'll be out early. You'll have the place to yourself." I bet she thought I was finally making peace with things, and in a way, I was. I even left her a coffee on the counter that Saturday morning, just how she liked it. 2 sugars, oat milk, cinnamon on top. She never questioned it. Why would she? She thought she was winning. She didn't know the doorbell would ring in less than an hour. She didn't know that when she opened it, her entire illusion of control would fall apart. She thought I was passive, but I was patient, and patience is the sharpest kind of revenge. Friday night was quiet. Too quiet. Sienna was curled up on the couch, legs tucked under a blanket I bought her 2 Christmases ago. She was watching some reality show and laughing to herself, completely unaware that it was her last night in that house. I had already cleared out everything that was mine. Well, everything that mattered. Important documents, photos, and anything with sentimental value were gone, packed neatly in boxes at my new rental across town, The utilities were transferred. My name was off the Wi-Fi. The bank had cleared the sale. All that was left was the moment itself. She didn't even notice that half the drawers were empty, that my toiletries were missing from the bathroom, that my keys were no longer hanging on the hook by the door. She noticed none of it because she was too caught up in her own story, the one where she gets to cheat, stay in the house, and move on without consequences, the one where I'm the quiet, predictable guy who fades into the background like wallpaper. That night, I walked in from my office, holding just a small gym bag. She raised an eyebrow. "Where are you going?" I smiled. "Staying with a friend for the weekend." She rolled her eyes. "Okay, just don't forget to pay the gardener." The front's starting to look trashy. That was the last request she ever made in that house. I didn't say anything more. I walked to the front door, paused for a second, and turned back. "You know," I said, "you always acted like I was forgettable, that I was too soft, too easy." She laughed. "You are." I nodded slowly, holding her gaze. "Then it shouldn't be hard to forget me." She looked confused for a second, but I didn't wait for a reply. I left. Not just the house, but the chapter. The version of me that tolerated being second to someone else's boredom. That night, I slept in a quiet, half-furnished apartment with no trace of her voice, her perfume, her presence. And I slept better than I had in months. Saturday morning, I was already dressed and sipping coffee when my phone buzzed with a message. From Henry. "New owners should be arriving at the house in 30. Thanks for making everything smooth." I smirked. Texted back, "Pleasure was mine." I sat back and imagined it. The doorbell, the boxes, the family of 3, standing outside with keys and paperwork, confused as hell when a woman in wrinkled pajamas opens the door like she still lives there. Because in her head, she did. She thought I'd never leave. She thought I'd never act. She thought I'd never stop loving her enough to sell the ground she stood on. And that's exactly why she never saw it coming. Sienna woke up around 10:30 that morning. She posted a lazy selfie to her Instagram story. Messy bun, oversized hoodie, captioned, "Saturdays in my sanctuary. I saw it from my new place." My sanctuary had no trace of her voice in the walls. She still hadn't noticed I was gone for good. She thought she was in control. 15 minutes later, the doorbell rang. She was in the kitchen, barefoot, sipping her coffee, probably expecting her friend or some delivery. When the bell rang again, this time twice, insistently, she sighed and padded over. She opened the door and froze. On the doorstep stood a cheerful couple, probably in their early 30s, dressed for a move, jeans, sneakers, baseball caps, clipboards in hand. Behind them, a moving truck idled. A teenager, probably their son, was balancing a box labeled "Kitchen Fragile." "Hi, you must be Sienna," the woman said with a broad smile. "We're the Morgans. Henry told us the house would be ready this morning." Sienna blinked. "I'm sorry?" The man stepped forward, confusion beginning to form. "Liam didn't tell you? We finalized everything last week." "Today's the move-in date. I think we're even a little early. Hope that's okay." She looked past them and saw boxes being carried up the walkway. "No, this must be a mistake." Liam didn't say anything. "This is our house." They exchanged a look. The wife opened her folder and held out a signed document. "No, ma'am, it's his." Or, "It was. Now it's ours." That was the moment she stopped breathing normally. She glanced down at herself. Pajamas, no bra, holding a chipped mug like a shield. She called me 4 times. I didn't pick up. Then she texted, "Liam, what the hell is happening? People are at the door saying they own the house?" I let it sit unread. Next came another call. Then 3 more, one after another, more frantic than the last. When I finally opened her messages, there were 12, ranging from confusion to disbelief to full panic. "Is this a prank? Please tell me this isn't real. Liam, answer me. I swear to God if this is a joke. Are you seriously doing this? You sold the house without telling me?" Then silence, followed by, "Please, can we talk?" I turned my phone over and placed it screen down. Sienna, meanwhile, was spiraling. She stood in the entryway, clutching her robe around her as the Morgans awkwardly waited with their son, and the movers shuffled behind them, unsure whether to bring things in or not. The woman finally said gently, "I'm sorry, we didn't mean to blindside you. But we do have a legal contract. I'm sure Liam meant to tell you." Sienna's voice cracked. She muttered something about lawyers, about calling someone, but her voice lacked conviction. Because deep down, she knew. She'd played in a house she never built, slept under a roof she didn't own, took for granted a man who once offered her everything, and now she had nothing but a robe and a mug in her hand, and a reality she never imagined would arrive at her front door. The next few hours were a blur for Sienna, but for me they were peaceful. While she paced barefoot across the hardwood I paid to have refinished, I was eating lunch with my sister across town. My phone sat on the table face down, buzzing nonstop. I ignored every single one. Later I'd go back and read the messages. There were 17 total. The early ones were filled with rage. "You blindsided me. I can sue you for this. You can't just throw me out like I'm nothing." Then the tone shifted. "Okay. Liam, let's talk. Please, be fair." I didn't mean what I said the other night. I was drunk. It didn't mean anything. By dusk, the begging began. "You knew I had nowhere to go. You knew I was relying on you. Please, just give me a few days. I'll figure something out. Don't do this." She even tried the guilt route. "I gave 4 years of my life to you, and you repay me like this?" But here's what she didn't know. I didn't sell the house to get back at her. I sold it to free myself from her. I'd done enough giving. I gave her comfort, love, a home, stability, and in return, she gave me indifference and infidelity, as if I were some old sweater she outgrew. She once told me, "You're not exciting enough." Turns out, peace isn't exciting until you lose it. Meanwhile, the Morgans had taken over. They offered to give her until Monday to gather her belongings. But she didn't have much that was truly hers. She called her friend Clara to help. From what I heard later, even Clara looked shocked. "Wait, you're telling me you didn't know he sold the house?" Apparently, Sienna had never bothered to ask about ownership. She assumed we were equals in that home, that her yoga mat and cookbook collection gave her stake. Clara tried to console her, but you can't comfort someone whose entire illusion just crumbled around them. On Sunday, Henry, the realtor, called me. "She's out." They gave her time. Movers came and picked up a couple boxes. That's it. I thanked him. Later that evening I drove by the house. I didn't stop, didn't park. Just slowed down enough to glance at the front porch. The plants were gone. The nameplate she insisted we put near the mailbox had been removed. It was no longer ours. It never really was. And for the first time in a long time I didn't feel anything. Not anger, not joy, not even pride. Just closure, a quiet, full stop to a story that had dragged on long past its final chapter. She'd tried calling one last time. I didn't answer, because what could she say that would undo her choice? She cheated. She called it boredom, and I gave her something exciting to remember. Not with revenge, but with silence. After everything, I didn't throw a party. I didn't post cryptic quotes. I didn't tell anyone the full story, because it wasn't about making Sienna look bad. It was about finally choosing myself. I moved into a smaller apartment on the other side of the city. Nothing fancy. Just enough space, sunlight, and silence. And that silence? It was gold. No constant background tension. No guilt-tripping sighs. No whispered phone calls behind closed doors. I started waking up early again. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I'd make myself coffee, go for a jog, read a book on the balcony. It felt like I was remembering how to be a person again, instead of just a placeholder in someone else's life. I went back to the gym, properly this time. Not the desperate, let me fix myself so she'll love me gym. The, I'm strong on my own kind. I even reconnected with people I'd unintentionally pushed away while trying to keep a crumbling relationship alive. Funny how, when you're in something toxic, you don't even realize how many parts of yourself you surrender, one quiet compromise at a time. There were still moments when I thought about her. Not out of longing, just curiosity. I wondered if she realized what she lost. Not the house, me, the loyalty, the effort. The man who used to memorize how she liked her tea and which side of the bed made her shoulder hurt. But those thoughts didn't last long, because every time they came, I looked around at the life I was building now, and I didn't miss anything I left behind. One afternoon, about 3 months after everything, I saw her. I was at a coffee shop, reading on the patio, when she walked past with some guy. He was tall, younger, flashy. They were holding hands, laughing. She didn't see me, or pretended not to. But for a brief second I looked at her face, and it struck me. She looked tired, worn, like she was forcing lightness that didn't exist. The laugh didn't reach her eyes. The bounce in her step looked rehearsed. I sipped my coffee and went back to my book. No bitterness, no satisfaction, just indifference. That was the real victory, not revenge, not drama, but peace. Later that night, I got an email from her. Short subject line, Liam. I stared at it for a few seconds, unsure if I should open it. Then I did. Subject, Liam. Date, 7:42 p.m. Liam, I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but I've been thinking about writing this for weeks. You didn't deserve what I did. I was selfish. I was stupid. I didn't even realize what I had until it was gone. I thought you'd chase me, beg, fall apart. I didn't expect you to walk away so calmly. To be honest, it hurt more than if you'd screamed. And then the house. God, Liam. You didn't just walk away. You took the world we built and disappeared, and I guess I can't blame you. I miss the quiet. I miss how safe you made me feel. I miss the version of myself who wasn't always searching for something more. I thought, I wanted fireworks. Turns out I missed the lighthouse. If you ever want to talk, even just once, I'm here. Sienna. I sat with it for a moment, reading it twice. She said everything I once ached to hear, but it didn't move me. Because that man she wrote to, he didn't exist anymore. I thought about responding. I even started typing. Thank you for the honesty. I wish you well, Liam, but then I deleted it, not out of pettiness, because some things don't deserve closure, not when they've already been closed. I archived the email, didn't reply, didn't mention it to anyone, and for the first time, it wasn't out of pain. It was because there was genuinely nothing left to say. A week later, she blocked me on everything. I guess she couldn't handle the silence either. But me, I slept just fine. There's something poetic about her calling what we had boring. Because when the chaos cleared, I realized that peace isn't boring. It's rare. It's sacred. And you only recognize its value once someone reckless burns it down. She left me for excitement, and I left her with a memory she'll never laugh about. Standing in a stranger's doorway, in her pajamas, watching her false kingdom crumble, I never slammed a door. I never raised my voice. But I made sure she would never forget me. Not because of who I was when she left, but because of who I became when she was gone.